Hi there, this is Rory for Module 5, Unit 5, Activity 3, the very last one, finally. Before we begin on the questions, I kind of wanted to specify I'm a little confused about some of the instructions in this activity. For Part 1, it said that we could have our original unit plan and then annotate that one based on the changes that we needed to make. And then the second instruction was something about, here, let me read it. Add your plans to incorporate multiple perspectives, innovations, and promotions of 21st century skills. Use the unit vision template in the activity resource. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to rewrite our entire unit, then incorporating different things, or if we were just supposed to take our original unit, like it said in the first one, and then just make little notes on that for the additions or subtractions or changes that we make. I chose to do the first one, where like the first instruction one, where I had my just original unit plan and I wrote comments on that. If that doesn't work, let me know. Let's take a look at these questions here. How effective you would rate your initial planning of the unit? Overall, I would actually give myself a pretty solid score on this one. It's a little complicated where my school is. We don't have standards. We don't really have goals. Each teacher is trusted to make the right decision for the classroom, and we have a writing unit coming up in my class later on in the second semester. So I decided that parts of speech would be the best one for my class, but we don't actually have, we were never given express instructions to do that, so I just kind of decided to do it. A lot of this unit has been, or in the Teach Now unit, has been talking about innovations and multiple perspectives and 21st century skills. For most of my for different lessons, I could definitely see where a lot of that would come into play. For this one, I don't think that necessarily all of that is applicable. Like 21st century skills, obviously, I listed in my revisions the 21st century skills that we're focusing on, but I did not list any changes in multiple perspectives or what was the other one? Innovations. I'm teaching nouns and pronouns. For multiple perspectives, they have a society me class where we cover that. This wasn't really the place to learn about different cultural perspectives. And then the other one, innovations. We do plenty of innovations, like the voice innovation for their speaking homework has been integrated. Again, though, this wasn't really the place to, in my opinion, introduce innovations. We use a game-based system where each day they have a lesson, and then we play games continuously to try and enforce and continuously review the lesson. So it's actually just a continuous formative assessment. Just the entire lesson is one big formative assessment. I felt that was more of a proper way, so I didn't think that any additional innovation was really required here. So overall, though, I think my unit plan was pretty solid. It wasn't too much for the kids. It was this is well within their ability to do, but it's still going to be challenging for them to do it, and it'll be very useful along the line. They'll learn how to write better because of it and speak better because of it. Number 2, what led to revisions in the lesson plan and or unit plan? I think a lot of my revisions came from just my lack of specificity or my wording. For my unit plan, I didn't add any of those 21st century skills, so I decided to just add those in. One of the comments on my unit plan as well was the my subject didn't have or my standard didn't have a resource attached to it. That's because my standard doesn't exist, and my goal was just made up by me, so there was no resource. And I think my last revision that I made was I needed to add a higher level of Bloom's taxonomy to my overall objectives. So what I did was I added a 6th objective in the comments saying by the end of the unit, the students will have to create a sentence, like an example sentence for noun, proper noun, and plural noun. So they'll have to have 3 different sentences, all exemplifying what they've been learning throughout the unit. What insights did you gain from the lesson planning process and teaching a lesson? Lesson planning process and teaching a lesson. Teaching a lesson, not much, to be honest. I already teach that class, obviously, so actually teaching the lesson and having it recorded didn't do a whole lot for me. I got to talk to Steven about it, and he and I had a good little conversation. He and I don't teach the same subjects. He teaches history. I teach ESL. He teaches older students, I teach younger students, so it was nice to kind of get a different perspective on that one, but it wasn't the most helpful thing. Not to say that Stephen was a bad teacher or that he did anything wrong, it's just like we didn't mesh. The lesson planning, though, I will say that actually I got a lot out of that one. The unit planning especially. Okay, so I liked unpacking the standard. Once I got the hang of it, it was nice. I liked then using the backwards mapping lesson idea to figure out where I was going to go. I actually use that a lot for this particular unit, the one I'm teaching right now. So I got a lot out of that. The lesson planning, I think was good for me. I don't always like it, but I think it was good for me. I have a very kind of off-the-cuff teaching style a lot of the time where the lesson gets by, gets through, and it gets done well, but I kind of think of things off the top of my head. And then teaching the lesson and then having it recorded after that, I don't know if it was any better or worse compared to what I normally do, but it was different, I can say that. So I think I did get a lot from that. I'm going to keep to my style in some regards, but I think in other regards, I really did enjoy the lesson planning idea. What parts of the unit plan emerged as critical to its implementation? I'm going to take that as what parts of the unit plan did I think were critical to the implementation of these lessons. The step-by-step was probably the best part of the entire unit plan. I got to basically figure out where I was going to go and where I needed to be and when I needed to do it by. Just looking through the lesson plan right now. Okay, so the beginning, it was nice because it helped me kind of hone in as to what I was going to try and teach, and the SMART objectives were really nice in that because I had to force myself to be specific. But all of those were nice, but again, I think the step-by-step was the best one because I could actually see myself over the next 5 weeks where I'm going to be, where I should generally be, and how I'm going to teach it. Quite frankly, the Bloom's taxonomy didn't really do much for me. I understand we need to be challenging our students. This is a low-level ESL course, though, so challenging them too much then gets them frustrated and less interested in the subject. They're children after all. So the creating, I think, was like that last little push that Maureen had put to add an extra level of the Bloom's taxonomy. I think is going to be valuable. I'm going to make them create their own sentences. I wouldn't do too much more than that, though, because if it was an older set of students, that'd be great, but it's not. And then the last question, how did the planning process help you determine how you would know whether students were meeting the objectives, developing or understanding of the content, and attaining the expected skills? That's a doozy right there. I think the unit plan and the lesson plans didn't really do a lot of that for me. What really helped me in that regard were the formative assessments. I don't remember exactly which activity or unit that was, but the formative assessment one I basically put together with my unit plan, and that was the one that really made it clear as to whether the students were going to be understanding the material or whether they need a little additional help. The unit plan was helpful because I then realized my next recourse as to what would happen if they didn't understand the material, what I need to do, how I need to differentiate, if I need to repeat the lesson. So that kind of made that concrete, but the actual do they understand it or do they not, that was more the formative assessments. Predicted student engagement still can and your plan in assessing students and understanding. Predicted student engagement, that was again the games. That was something I had planned without the unit assessment, the unit plan. Skill attainment, same thing. Your plan and assessing students, same thing. Overall, I think the unit plan is a really nice tool to figure out where I need to go and what I need to be doing in a particular unit. I don't think it fills in all of the gaps, but I think it provides a really good guideline. Would I do it again? If I had the opportunity, yes. In my case, a lot of the lessons are pre-planned based on textbooks, so I don't have a lot of freedom in my class. This is just one of those few periods a week that I actually can manipulate, that I can change. So after this unit, I have a writing unit coming up, and would I make a unit plan for this? Yeah, probably. Or for that one, yeah. Anyways, so I think my only questions are if the modification of the unit plan and the lesson plans are enough. Just a quick note, I really didn't do much to my lesson plans. I got 4 out of 4 on 2 of them. The last one wasn't assessed yet, so I didn't have a chance to really get comments on it. I'll give it a kind of a bare bones, figure it out. But my other ones, it was the same argument. Innovation, I appreciate the idea, but I don't think that this is the right class for it. I think, hey, a basic definition, formative assessment, team building exercises, I think that was really what was holding this plan together. And then the multiculturalism, like I said, it doesn't really, don't get me wrong, it has a place in the classroom, and I definitely teach that. It just has dedicated periods for that, so I don't want to basically waste the class time when we're learning grammar on what's going on in the United States, for example. Anyways, that's my spiel on the unit plan. Thank you so much.